But there's a bunch of them that are MDs too. It's not solely osteopath. There's one, it's an MD over in Dallas at Forest and Audelia.
Dr. Ray.
Huh? Dr. Ray. Yeah. And they have tried to make an example out of him by coming in with a SWAT team with the bulletproof vest on and the M16s to arrest him for his terrible crimes against people that have not complained about it at all. Because he's been able to find people's problems, what was the chemical, how to detoxify and whatnot, but the MDs are not too thrilled about that, so the Gestapo was at work. And I don't know, if any of you read Suzanne Somers' book, Knockout? It's doctors that are curing cancer, and she has come under a lot of fire by medicine and the media that celebrities should stay out of medicine because they don't know what they're doing. Well, all she did was interview doctors and made it in writing so that you could understand it. But there's a concerted effort to try to get rid of these doctors. There's a lawyer in Houston, and I'll probably forget it. His name, his book is Galileo's Lawyer, and I can't think of his name right now. Maybe I'll think of it. At any rate, he's the lawyer that defends most of these people. There's one guy in Houston. I'm going to say the word Brzezinski because my Eastern European translation and pronunciation isn't very good, but it's close to that. And he's been tried 3 times. And these people are trying to treat people holistically and curing cancer or whatever the condition happens to be. They're not making much money because the insurance companies won't pay. These people are doing it because they love the patient and they're trying to help them. And at any rate, he's gone to court 3 times. His patients took up collections all 3 times to pay his legal bills. And one of the last ones, a family from Michigan, and he had saved their daughter's life. They bloated up the kids in a oh shoot, we don't call them, we call them vans now, but the station wagon, because they had an old vehicle. They drove from Michigan to Houston to sit in that courtroom and to testify. And every time, the lawyer's name is Richard. Maybe I'll get it in there. At any rate, the point is that there's people out here doing good things, trying to prevent problems and help, but you know, sometimes they're persecuted. But the main thing is listening to what some of them have to say. This American Academy of Environmental Medicine said, and they're suggesting that all doctors stop recommending in any way, shape, or form GMOs, or as they put it, GM. Include the problems that are being created are infertility, immune problems, accelerated aging, false insulin regulation, and changes in major organs and the gastrointestinal system. You know, the scientists at the FDA were opposed to GMOs, but it was the politicians and the people put in power that overrode the scientists. An example of that is, anybody use Equal? Why is Equal recommended? One of the reasons by doctors is because, yes, because it has no sugar in it. The problem, though, is that it creates the desire to consume other carbohydrates. So almost all diabetics that use Equal gain weight. So their diabetes becomes worse. But did you all know that the basic ingredients to create Equal, you know what it comes from? Genetically engineered. And that's where it came from. And I was curious, for a long time I heard that the CIA had used it. And I didn't understand why, and I finally found it a couple of weeks ago. They were giving this to people in interrogation-wise, and again, I don't understand all of it, but part of it was they did this through the interrogation process and then used electrodes on it to see what the Equal, the aspartame, would do to these people. I guess it didn't do much because they kind of got away from it. Of course, how many of you remember that during the Vietnam War, the military used, no, we'll get to that one. the hallucinogen, LSD. They gave it to soldiers to experiment and see what would happen. That's crazy. Any rate, we're getting new diseases, new problems that nobody knows anything about. Doctors are getting allergies they don't understand. You know, can we say definitively that it is the GMOs? Well, you kind of got to go through, as Jeffrey was talking about this morning. If it's happening to the animals, it's probably happening to people. But it's not being investigated like it should be. But the truth is, we have all kinds of problems, health-wise, that's getting worse. And one of them, this appeared 2.5 years ago. It came out in an article that everyone was excited that the illegitimate birth rate in the teenage birth rate in the United States was down by 25%. Well, the Republicans immediately jumped on this and they said, guess what, folks? Teaching abstinence works. Well, the Democrats, not to be outdone, they went, see, putting condoms into school works. Neither one of them worked. You know what caused it? 25% of our kids are sterile. You know, you'd think maybe the government would be upset about that figure, but heck, they've got fish floating by all those monuments on the Potomac River that have 2 sex organs, all because of the grains that are being fed to chickens and other animals on the northern end of the Potomac River that float down past there. They're not worried about it. Do you suppose they have a good filtration system for their water at their house? Well, they have their own health care system. They have their own retirement system. I suspect somebody probably sold them a filtration system. That's just a guess. Don't know that, but it's kind of like, I bet that we were talking about at lunch, I bet you the CEO and the other officers in Monsanto are not eating GMO grain either. You know, when it comes to plants, you know, what are we up against? Well, there's the big 4, of course. Everybody knows soy, corn, cotton, and canola. But canola is almost 100%. Soy's about, I don't know, Randy might correct me, I think it's about 93%. Corn is what, about 85, 87% now? And cotton, I think, is pretty close to 100% too. And you go, well, I don't eat cotton. Well, folks, you need to be looking at labels. And the fact of it is, if you look at a label, you can't pronounce it and you can't spell it, that's the number 1 reason not to use that product. The other one is you'll see cottonseed oil. How many eat microwave popcorn? You ever look at the ingredients in it?
No.
Okay. A lot of times you'll find cottonseed oil. And then you're going to find, I never pronounce it right, it's fluoro something, it's Teflon. Teflon's in the bag. That holds the heat in, so there's more heat from the microwave, so it pops better. So you got a microwave that destroyed all the nutrients. You got a microwave that took a toxic product in the form of cotton oil and destroyed that. Lord knows what that became. And then you have Teflon that you get to eat.
And cotton oil is GMO.
Yes. Right. But you know, what did the microwave do to the cottonseed oil? We know it destroyed the popcorn. The truth is, there's a lot of alternatives, and that's one of the things in my books that I've got. There are alternatives. You just have to start looking for it. You got to be aware that there's a problem. You know, the only corn totally that we know of that's not genetically engineered? Popcorn. They have not touched popcorn for some reason. So if you want a healthy snack, go to Walmart or Costco or whoever it is and buy an air popcorn popper, get organic popcorn, and go someplace and get organic butter and pop the corn and put the butter on.
That's right.
There isn't anything unhealthy about that. You know, we've been lied to by medicine that if we eat all these oils and that we're going to cause problems. How many of you believe that if you eat cholesterol in an egg, you're going to cause cholesterol and heart disease? You're absolutely right. You know, there's never been one study that proved there was any fact to it at all. Just dreamed up. Just dreamed up. How many times have you heard somebody talk about, well, my doctor told me to eat chicken instead of beef because it's healthier? Oh, come on. You got a 4-pound bird that's been fed more chemicals than God knows how to formulate, and then you're going to compare it to a cow. I'm not justifying either one of them. But the fact is, which one's more toxic? Of course, I kind of like the chickens because you get arsenic in that. Now, do y'all know why arsenic is in chicken food? Makes them eat and drink more. And I had a guy from Pilgrim in my office about 2 or 3 years ago, and I said to him, you guys take the cake. What do you mean? Well, you put arsenic in. He said, oh, it's okay. I said, it's okay, really? He said, yeah, it's okay. I said, what gave you that idea? He said, well, it's okay. I said, but it's poison. Oh, no, sir, we use organic arsenic. And I looked at him and I said, I have 32 hours of college-level chemistry. Pardon my bad English, sir, but there ain't no organic arsenic. He said, well, that's what the company told me to say. He's just a nice guy trying to make a living. And that's the problem with a lot of stuff today. It's just good people trying to make a living, and they don't know. But, you know, somebody's got to tell them. Somebody's got to start educating. My wife gets on me at times. She says, don't you get frustrated when people don't listen as much as you like? I said, no, but more and more people are listening. I had a woman a couple of years ago. She was sitting in front, and I was just in the exam room doing something, maybe on my computer, and I heard her say, Dr. Bard saved my life. Oh, really? What it was, she'd been in the year before, and she had all kinds of breakouts on her skin and all kinds of problems. 2 or 3 doctors were giving her 2 or 3, 4 different kinds of medicine, and she was getting worse, and she wasn't well, and she began to worry that she wasn't going to make it. And she told me that, and I said, well, do you use any artificial sweeteners? She said, well, yeah, I use Splenda. I said, why don't you get off Splenda and see what happens? Well, she got off the Splenda, and everything cleared up, and that's why the next year she told all the patients in the office that I'd saved her life. But, you know, it's just common knowledge that, you know, well, it's not common knowledge, but it should be common knowledge. It's like, I'm going to go over some of the side effects from Equal here shortly. And I go to conferences, you know, I have to get continuing education to renew my license every year. And I've got a couple of doctors that I respect. They're nice guys, but they play the politics. I mean, that's their job in a teaching institution. And at every one of these things, when they're done talking about diabetes and the eye and the body and everything else, they go, now don't believe all that stuff about those artificial sweeteners being bad for you. They're just fine. Just tell your patients to use that. And I'm sitting there with my hands underneath my butt going, I want to say something, but, you know, sometimes you just can't. You know, part of the problem is Jeffrey. Oh, yes, sir.
What do you think of stevia?
Stevia is fine. Stevia is a herb that was discovered in Paraguay, and the Indians have used it for thousands of years. And I've been told that the Japanese do not use Equal or Splenda in their products. They use stevia and have been for 30 years.
Well, the reason I ask you is because it's owned by Coca-Cola.
Well, you're talking about Trevia?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you trust them to make a product that came out of a chemical laboratory processed with stainless steel? Now, I don't think Trevia is Splenda. Is stevia. Okay. I think it's just a chemical. They went in and found out what the chemical was that caused the sweetness, and I think they've made a product. And you're right. And I think, didn't Coca-Cola and Pepsi go in on that deal? Yeah. They don't own anything. Of course, you know, they, having enough power and control, wouldn't allow people to advertise stevia as a sweetener. Now, you could sell it as an herb in a health food store. You could talk about it, but they couldn't advertise it. In fact, what's the company? Celestial Teas? Yeah, they had a batch of teas that were made up with stevia, and they got the Gestapo treatment with the guys in the bulletproof vests and the M16s. Went in and confiscated, destroyed all that particular product. You know, and as they were talking this morning, you know, GMO is not a very scientific thing. They want you to believe that it is, but it's really very haphazard. And one of the things I find interesting